Look, we young and we fly, don't act so surprised. We on the move and we working. We stay on the grind, Milwaukee gon' shine when we move, we gon' move with a purpose. 414, you already know, on the way to the top and it ain't no stopping. We got the keys, we got the tea, reporting to you live with all the hot topics. 414, ay, be the wolf pack, 25-8, we gonna get to the bag. We some youngers on a mission, and this is just the beginning. We on a whole other level, and you know that we winning.
Yeah, what's good? It's March 8th, Monday. This is the Wolfpack. We back with our second episode. How y'all doing today?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. I'm good.
You want a real answer or?
Yeah, we always want a real answer. It's Monday. You got some Monday vibes for us? Tell us something what happened.
No, it's life happens. That's what's happening right now. It's not even a Monday thing because I actually been enjoying Mondays lately, and I won't even say it's been a bad day. It's just one of them adulting things like we talked about last episode, and I just had a moment, but I'm glad I was able to make it here with y'all. I'm sure it's gonna be a lit show tonight. I'm excited.
Yeah.
We glad you made it. Yeah. What's up, Dorian? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Finally putting some things together for myself. I'm feeling a little bit better these days. The weather a little bit nicer, attitude a little bit better. So
yeah, we definitely had us a good weather day today. We needed that. It helped me get through the day for sure because I was tired as hell on Monday.
It was like 65 today. I was like, damn, summer.
Summer's at you?
Yeah.
But no, I'm doing good. The weather was the highlight of my day, so.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
See, we all pulled some silver lining from it. You know what I'm saying? So I know we mentioned last time to our listeners that we wanted them to check out Malcolm and Marie if they haven't already. Yeah. So we all went out and made sure we watched it. Some of us watched it twice or, doubled back and tried the review. Just from, first glances at the movie, what do y'all think about Malcolm and Marie and, the whole toxic conversation?
Honestly, the movie was hard to watch for me. Like, the first time I watched it, I turned it off. And then I know we discussed about, talking about it on the podcast, so I went back and rewatched it, and it was still, I'm like, for some reason, it just was hard for me to get through. Like, I had to pause it a couple times. I don't know if it was triggering some stuff or what, but, it was hard for me to watch it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all.
Was the fact that it was mostly dialogue, did that bother you?
Yeah.
Make it harder to watch?
A little bit. I'm more used to movies with, more of a...
Some action,
or maybe leaving the house, but it was black and white like that. So all you really had to focus on was what they were saying, pretty much.
That's important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I watched it today, skimmed over it, but what I had noticed, it just seemed like from the get go, it was just bad, instantly. So it was just it didn't seem like the girl Marie was happy at all. Going through the storyline, she had underlying other problems that she was dealing with on top of being in a toxic relationship, and it seemed like he was capitalizing off what she was going through. So telling the world her story, but not really helping her with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just adding to it. So
that's real.
You watch the movie, Tom? Oh,
I know you got a lot to say about it.
I want to hear what you got to say.
I loved it. Malcolm and Marie was an amazing movie. The cinematography and all of that was absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Black and white movie. They stayed in the house the whole time. It's just all the different elements.
That's the opposite of what Deshaun feel about.
I like not to say that part wasn't bad.
Yeah, for sure.
All you really have to focus on was what they were saying because everything was kind of it's not important. I don't know if that makes sense. Focus on the words because everything is black and white.
I was focused on the body language and stuff. I was just reading her language, and she was not happy at all. So
you related with bro in the movie when he was like, "Yo, what's wrong?" Getting frustrated because you keep saying nothing, I know it's something wrong with you.
But what was funny? If you pay attention to the movie, she told you what was wrong when the movie first started.
Literally,
yeah, she definitely did.
And if anything about the movie, it's a prime example of how men and women communicate differently.
Yep.
Every single argument, every single debate was always, here's the problem, here's the answer, but the other person had to come back
harder
because of it. Because
you trying to win more than you trying to hear.
Yeah. When you pay attention, the whole movie was about the fact that that she didn't feel appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
He made a whole movie,
About
even
it.
though he pulled pieces from other people.
It was based
You
on.
would never thought of this movie, made this movie, or got the heart of this movie if it wasn't for her. But he did not acknowledge her at the award ceremony.
And not only did he not acknowledge her, he didn't cast her in the movie, knowing she was capable of it.
Cause she loved
And he said that multiple times. He was like, he said like you should have kept acting or something like that. But she said something like, "You the only person that can write me or write my write me a role or something like that."
But I think he was frustrated with her feeling that way, and instead of being able to express that or articulate, like, you can go get what you want. If you want to be an actress, you don't have to only be a part of my projects. You can be a beast as an actress and be great doing my projects and everybody else's, because he did express that, but it's obviously too late. You know what I'm saying? She needed to hear that from him way before.
But the thing about it is it's not that she couldn't go out and get the projects on her own. She found the person that she wanted to work with.
Yep.
Right.
She
That was
found
it.
the one who fits her mode. And it's just like relationships. You could get anybody you want, but when you find that person who fits you perfectly, you don't want to deal with it. Nobody else matters.
Yep.
And that's kind of the underlying sense of the story. Now, yes, where there are conflicts and where there are issues, just like in any other relationship, you'll have them. But the big thing is, how are you working towards getting the problem solved? They wasn't working towards getting anything solved until they broke each other down first.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they'll tear each other, like the bathroom scene, he tore her a fucking new asshole. And she didn't need that.
She definitely didn't need that.
Yet he's in the kitchen eating the mac and
The
cheese.
mac and cheese. Man. Think about that mac and cheese.
The
bro.
mac and cheese
like
ain't
he
had no
literally-
salt or pepper or
Like, he
nothing
literally was
either.
smashing
By
on
the
the
way,
food that she ate.
Because I like Zendaya, but she was wrong for that. But she probably made the mac and cheese like that on purpose because she was mad. So.
No,
But-
she was just tired of dude, bro. Like you can see.
And it was, I think,
But you see how we
the
still
whole,
make y'all the mac and cheese anyway? Like she didn't even have to do that.
Like, she could let him starve.
Let's talk about the
That's the
significance
You
of
acting
that.
like that nigga couldn't make that Kraft mac and cheese
See, and
by
then we
himself.
say stuff like that. We could have did
It
that.
wasn't no
Like,
baked mac and cheese. Come on now.
But you see,
threw some water on it.
Water.
But do you see exactly in this moment how your whole thing is, oh, it wasn't good, I could, whereas she was like, it wasn't good, but I didn't have to make it.
At all,
Right.
right?
You see how this conversation right
You
here?
could have made it on
That's
your
the
own.
whole thing of the whole movie.
Look at Lord Jesus.
All right, I'm out.
Thank you, Tom.
There go that dose of tone y'all
There we
wanted.
go.
Real early in the pod, we needed that. So I think one of the things that stood out too was the fact that a lot of the stuff that they were saying needed to be said earlier. So there was a lack of communication prior to in their relationship. So what are some of the things that y'all think make us toxic in our relationship? So not only with our partners, but like how we interact with our friends, our parents, our family members, like just in general.
I think I feel like there's a conversation we done had a couple of times, Drew, and then just reflecting on the 4 agreements. Like I finally read that book, and just the way we take things personal and like these expectations that we set but don't communicate. Like I feel like all those things can eventually become toxic. Like you become toxic by having those expectations that you set but don't communicate. And I'm speaking for myself. I legit will have this expectation for like relationships with men to read my mind, and I know that's not realistic. But in friendships too, I have these expectations and don't communicate them because I'm like, everybody should just know this. And thinking like that will lead you down a toxic path because you have these issues that you never communicated. And you expect people to understand where you're coming from,
Right.
And then that's where ghosting come in. Like you ghost somebody, or you cut people off. You cut them off, and whole time you could have just had a conversation, and y'all could have resolved that issue. So I think that's my 2 cents on that.
I think where stuff become toxic is when you not firmly addressing like situations. It just seems like you kind of being passive. on like just to make that other person feel good or to dare the situation. Like,
so you think being I don't want to say too quiet, but you know, putting your feelings in the back seat and not speaking up can be toxic too.
Yeah, because that's essentially what she did. Like in that first scene, like he kept asking like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And she kept on saying nothing, and then she finally just broke down and said it. But it's like, why does it have to take all that? Like, you know, like I'm not saying that she probably didn't vocalize it before. She probably went like, "Oh, you should," you know what I'm saying? You my guy. You should be like paying more attention to me or something like that. But at the same time, it's
did you see how hard it was for her to talk to him though when she?
I was just about to say that. Like she probably already knew that was gonna be the kind of response. So she like, let's just leave it alone.
You know,
even if you're not 100%, she got that, you know, in the back of her head. Like, damn, if I say something.
No, and that's what she said. She kept on saying like, ain't nothing productive gonna happen tonight. Like if we talk about it, so she did. Like, might as well just go. You know what I'm saying? Just go to sleep. But then like when they got to talking about it, he just was like, oh, you sick, you this, you that. But it's like. But that's what's toxic too. Like you can't beg somebody for their feelings to express their feelings, and then like when they do, you make them feel like, oh well, your feelings don't really matter, or I don't see it that way. So it's like maybe it's not as bad as what you think. Like because everybody valid, you know, they feelings is valid in, you know, different ways.
Yeah. What was the question again? No, because like I'm trying to make sure I answer it right.
Oh, just asking how are we toxic? Like, what are some ways that we're toxic in our relationships?
Well, I know I used to be toxic because I didn't like speak how I felt. Like, kind of like what she did. Like, I would just brush it under the rug, or I'll be like nothing, but then still be mad and then wonder why ain't nothing changed. So I feel like it's the way you communicate, not communicating just to listen. You communicating to understand, like to understand the other person's point of view. Because maybe you say something, but it wasn't meant that way, or it comes off a certain type of way, but when you communicate to understand, it's a little bit different. So
it is. Like
I feel like they was just talking to talk to make the other person mad. They wasn't even really listening to like that. I feel like at the end, when he really sat and listened to what she was saying, that's
because that shit hurt.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't
that's when it was hurting.
Yeah, like when she really was talking to him, but you know he was feeling what she was saying. He wasn't just listening. He felt it. He understood it. That's why he started crying, you know? So I feel like it's all the way if you want to hear the person, if you want to understand what they're saying.
And I think that was a great point. Well, in that moment, he finally, because through the whole, like, it was probably like an hour and 30 minutes. The movie, an hour and 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Hour 30 minutes, he couldn't step out of himself and see what she was saying at all. You know what I'm saying? And that was the one time he did. And that's why I think that scene hurt like that.
I think I love the movie so much because it depicted the reality of what people go through in relationships without sugarcoating it and giving it a happy ever after. Because when it ended, I was like, and we spoiling this whole movie for y'all.
Yeah, spoiler alert. If you ain't seen it, you already heard the plot.
I think it was intense the way it ended because, like, I sat there and stared at the screen for like 10 extra minutes, like, so now what? Like, I wanted to know like what happened after that, like they future, like what happened after that conversation. But the reality that people go through nights like that and then they just, you know, the next day come and they do it again, like over and over. Not people, me, like legit during the time when we watching that movie, I had the same type of argument with the partner that night. Like literally, like we was going back and forth about the movie, about our relationship. Like it's literally I think I loved it because I could relate and because it was real and it was honest. Like it didn't show us the happy, cute relationship. It showed like the toughness and everything that they went through. Not to say that relationship is healthy and you should be in that kind of relationship, but it showed the truth that people are in relationships like that, and they get stuck in those relationships and they stay in those relationships because it didn't show us that she left and was, you know, fed up.
I really wish she
not fed up enough to leave.
No,
that's
facts.
what I mean.
Yeah. I really wish like the movie kind of, I would say they hit on it, like they touched on the beginning of the relationship, but like I want to know like how they were in the beginning because clearly they had been together for a while. So like, was this always like this or like?
And then at the same time, I noticed that like Was she 20?
No,
She wasn't 20. So was the girl in the movie was
the girl in the movie was 20, and it was depicted on when she was 20, which was some years back when he first met her.
so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would have been like I kind of get that. I wouldn't want to see like that development phase, like how it you know
Yeah.
like with the
But
road that's-
I view it a little differently. They touched on the earlier parts of the relationship.
Yeah, that they did.
That's why I feel like it was a lot that was unsaid throughout those years, and I think a lot of I know it was John David Washington. Oh, Malcolm. I'm tweaking. I was gonna say I can't remember his name, but it's in the title. All right, so Malcolm in the movie, he went through a lot during them years. You know what I'm saying? Like with her going through what she went through, being a recovering drug addict, but I don't think he expressed any of those things. And when that stuff build up, you know what I'm saying, it don't really come out the best way, especially as men, because we don't know how to communicate already. And so I think he was like working on his art. She's recovering as a drug addict, then she gets better, you know what I'm saying, then she just gets integrated into working with him, and a lot of stuff don't get talked about, you know what I'm saying, they trying to be happy, you know, because it definitely had to be some dark times during those times. So I think you also get stuck in trying to be happy as far as being with a partner and not knowing, like, I still got to pay attention
Stuck
and
in
be
trying
aware.
to be happy. That's a whole like that's real.
yeah, like sometimes I feel like just like even like in relationships, like sometimes like you be needing like a life outside of your partner, like because I feel like from what you said, like she was saying that too, like I'm constantly like helping you or involved in your work, and it's like you don't see when I'm putting into it, but it's like maybe you feel like that because you know you don't have like a sense of like your own stuff going on.
He was putting into him, obviously,
Yeah,
and
All she was doing was putting
putting
him.
into him
So
also.
she didn't have nothing of her own either, and she felt like unappreciated because I'm doing all this for you, and the least you could do is thank me, but you thanked everybody else. So
and I
Balance
feel like
is
that's
necessary.
how women work. like no, I'm just saying like what she was saying, like you get up like it's like an emotional thing. I feel like when she was talking about like you got up there, you thank everybody else. Like it don't matter how many times you thank me in private. I don't want the world to, you know what I'm saying, to feel this like just like how like because she
but I get what you're saying, but
yeah.
the thing is, the whole movie was based off her, so it was like, how could you forget the one person?
main part.
The main, like he wouldn't have no movie if it wasn't for her. So I could get in that instance how she felt.
That's what I'm saying. I was feeling. That's the part that I feel like, damn, bro, you made the whole movie on her. And they didn't even like. That's why I'm like, it be dudes.
I feel like her point was probably valid, but maybe how she expressed it, like maybe was. I feel like they both was kind of like picking off of each other, like because it was one point where they was quiet, and then she automatically got mad and just went at him like hood, like towards the end of the movie. So I'm like, it wasn't just him; it was her too. They both, their communication, they was just trying to make the other person mad.
I think I could relate with some of that part because it's more hard to like we talking about Malcolm, like step outside of yourself and say, am I really listening to what she or he got to say? Right. And I think too with me, I had to realize, you know, I've been Malcolm in plenty situations with my mom, my sister, you know what I'm saying, my friends, my family. Like, I'll get defensive quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just saying I'm not doing something or I'm doing this wrong, you know what I'm saying, or doing that wrong. And then it becomes trying to win the argument or prove your point instead of saying, okay, let me look at what I'm doing.
Somebody said a question. I'm looking at the live right now.
What up?
They said, why do we avoid confrontation and conflict in our relationships?
I mean, in any relationship,
I feel
think
like, well, personally, like,
it's
I
friction.
would avoid it to protect the other person's feeling But at the same time, it's like, what is the...
That's what my girlfriend say. Like I'm
what's
not a
the
G or
goal?
something.
Like, what's
Like,
being
I ain't built
accomplished?
that
If I'm
way,
not speaking
you know?
my mind to protect you, I'm still hurting myself in the process. Now, it's a way that you can communicate that, but a lot of us, we don't know healthy communications, or we wasn't raised around healthy communication. So we grew up seeing our parents argue or yell at each other. So, you know, it's kind of like, if you don't see it, how do you know what I'm saying? If you don't see it or you don't know it, you can't really do it. But now I feel like this generation, we kind of in like a shift of, you know, making sure that we not toxic, you know, ensuring that we can navigate those ways to not be toxic. It's different now, if that makes sense. And then somebody said hurt people, but the hurt cannot be addressed if it's constantly being muled over.
I feel like toxic behavior has been normalized in this generation, honestly. Like, I feel like people think it's hilarious to ghost somebody, or people post screenshots of toxic text messages all the time, and on Twitter, everybody think it's hilarious. So it's like, I think the idea of being toxic is like a joke at this point.
I could see that, because at one point in time, I thought being toxic was not like a good thing, but it was like, oh, I'm toxic. Or
Can we define the word toxic?
Perfect
Like,
transition.
I feel like we should define that, because I don't feel like we're using the word properly.
Okay.
I think we want our personal definitions or the legit
No,
Google.
we need the legit
Okay.
definition first.
I'm finna Google it. What toxic? Let's see what. Come on.
I think in relationships, just with anybody, being toxic is
So dictionary.com.
not being true. Like, that's how I look at it.
Like,
You
true
know
to
what I'm
yourself.
saying? True to anything, because
That's
you got to be true with what you're dealing with, the situation. You got to be true with the other person's feelings.
Yeah.
So you meaning like you can't I can't tell Imani something about how I feel about something she did to me, and she be like, nah, that's not the case.
Yeah.
You can't tell me how I
Right.
feel. You know what I'm saying? So being true to other people's feelings, and then definitely, like Deshaun is saying, like your own feelings too. Like don't hide your feelings and don't mask them. Not trying to hurt the situation or elevate
Y'all
it.
got some good comments. I'm looking at them right now. But okay, so the dictionary definition of toxic: pertaining to, affected with, or caused by a toxin or poison, acting as or having the effect of poison, causing unpleasant feelings, harmful or malicious, or financial, when it's in regards to finances, pertaining to or noting a debt that will probably not be repaid.
So what's
The third one was the causing unpleasant feelings, harmful or malicious, a toxic boyfriend. The example was a toxic boyfriend who wanted to complete control over her, or toxic criticism. That's what the
I
dictionary
feel like
said.
that's the one that's most applicable. You know?
Yeah, causing unpleasant feelings and harmful or malicious. So it's the intent I'm suggesting that is the difference between toxin as the poison or toxic as the descriptive of a relationship, maybe. Like, you can be toxic, but it's all in your intent. Whether it's intended or not, you still can be toxic that way. Because you're causing unpleasant feelings to the next person. So, do y'all agree with that definition?
I agree with the third one for sure. That's the one that I feel like everybody applies to them. It's like causing those feelings to somebody else and thinking that is okay.
Yeah. And you kind of get praised these days. Like, Future get praised for being toxic. Like, it's kind of like a good thing these days. But
Future.
I'm curious to know from y'all, like, what do y'all feel like it... Like, what's y'all comfort level with the type of person you end up in a relationship with? And I guess you can apply it to friendship or a romantic relationship, but I'm specifically talking about a romantic relationship. Like, what are some things that people bring to the table where you like, nah, that's toxic, or nah, I'm not willing to deal with that? Because if you think about the movie, like, she came into it with issues with drugs. Like, that's a lot to be like, you know what, I'm still going to be patient and work with this person through that. Or I think a lot of times at our age, we end up in relationships with people who just are completely, like, carefree, like, you know, really don't have much going for themselves or something like that. And you end up with them and you just like, you know, I'm going to be patient. We young. I'm going to let them, give them their space to grow or whatever. Like, I'm just curious to know, like, what are y'all, like, non-negotiables? Like, you know what, that's too toxic. I'm not dealing with that.
I feel like it's My bad. I feel like it's past relationship baggage.
That's your thing. I feel that.
I feel like because how do we move? Like, okay, like that's for example. Like, obviously everybody goes through some stuff, like, and or done had things happen to them in the past. But it's like, if I'm bringing that into this, that in a sense that starts it off as toxic because like you never address those issues within yourself. So it's like now we trying to come together as one, but it's like. How
moving on
do you
when
think,
you haven't healed?
Yeah, like how you moving on and you ain't healed yet, and that's why I'm like, how do you, like, and that's why I'm like, how do you love somebody else until you got that closure within yourself?
I don't think you need to be fully.
I don't think you need to be fully,
but like it definitely needs to be some healing going on. Though. Yeah.
Do you feel like the new person, can help that person heal?
That's a good question.
I feel like you can, but it's like it's all in like the effort, you know? Like, you can't really just say, oh, you gotta have your baggage clear, because who really has their baggage clear when you get in a relationship?
And it's not just relationship baggage that people bring. Like, I feel like I've been in a lot of experience where they got family baggage that they carry into the relationship, and it's just like there's no way for us to move forward in a relationship until you take care of some of that baggage that you got with your family.
That's a great point, because Deshaun said earlier, like when you grow up a certain way, communication wise, like that can carry into
how you communicate.
It don't even have to be your ex-boyfriend.
It could be your cousin or your dad. You know, it could be daddy issues, mommy issues, all type of stuff. But it's like you can't really. I get what you're saying, Doran, but it's like when you really in a situation where you really want to be with somebody, you can't just be like, well, since you ain't got your baggage, figure it out. We can't work.
Or you could, if that's your thing, if that's your non-negotiable. Like,
you know what I'm saying? If you really got it like that, go ahead. But
is that toxic?
How do you say that though? How do you point out when you with a partner?
Somebody tell me, because that's the biggest thing I struggle with.
And you need to say, you know, I'll fuck with you 85% of the time. But when you do this, you know what I'm saying?
That little other percentage this is not gonna work.
So but you gotta communicate like, hey, we good here, but here we gotta fix that, and it's up to that person to be like, okay, I respect it, I get where you coming from. Let's work on it.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that got something to do with that person. The person that you addressing that with, they gotta be open to hearing that though. Yeah, like. Some people don't be open to. Some people don't see it until you bring it to them, though. So, I feel like that's
somebody just commented. She said, "New people bring new perspective." Julian, for instance, made me realize a lot of things that I thought I healed from already that I actually haven't, and it helped me and us grow.
Shout out to Bay for the comment.
Hey. Okay. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Ju?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, like for me, one of my non-negotiables came up in my relationship. So, and one of my issues is being patient. So my girlfriend has a tough time communicating, and I have a tough time being patient. Like if I want you to communicate, I want you to communicate right now. So it got tough for a little bit. So. I had to step outside of myself. Like, it's bigger than me, you know. I mess with my girlfriend super heavy, you know, so it's not a non-negotiable anymore. It's something that we got to fix. It's something that we got to work out and grow. So it was just, I had to change my perspective on how I was looking at it, really. That's just how it is, and it's reasons for everything. It's a reason why she is how she is. Right. But the thing that makes it worth, like, you know, working through is that she sees her own flaws. She sees that, you know, it's something that could hurt us and hurt me, and she want to get better at it. So I also have flaws in my communication. You know what I'm saying? When I'm frustrated, I don't communicate the best. That's when I want something, I don't communicate the best. And so I had to realize that too. Like, I think I'm communicating, you know, the best way, but I'm not either. Right. So you always got to look at yourself and step outside of yourself. And this situation kind of has taught me that, like, firsthand.
Yeah, I can pick you back off, like, communication-wise. Like, I had to, like, my relationship that I'm in now, like, I had to check myself. Like, on my toxic trait, because it's not what I say, it's how I say it. So my boyfriend, he had to check me like, hey, look, you're not finna be yelling at me.
Hey,
and I'm
me
like,
too.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm yelling at you, and I'm like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just me personally. I'm a loud person, so I had to be like, okay, even when I am very loud. But it's like I had to check myself. Okay, maybe I'm not thinking I'm yelling, but from his side, he like, hold on now, you yelling at me. You ain't finna yell at me. Like, and I'm like, I can't be mad at that, because if he was yelling at me, I would be pissed. So it's like, you gotta like, I feel like it's how you communicate that. He didn't yell back at me. He was like, I'm not gonna yell back at you, but you ain't finna yell at me. And I was like, okay.
Hey, that's crazy,
And I
because
respect
I'm with you on this. Like I don't be like disrespectful, but like what I gotta say is gonna come out how I gotta say.
And it's like I have passion, and I might put a little bass in my voice, but it's just because I'm passionate.
But my girlfriend shut that down quick. She, you know what? I'm
He
out.
shut that down
you
quick
can
too.
Talk to yourself.
Shout out to my
nigga.
baby.
Like,
He in the corner listening. But nah, it's like I couldn't be mad at that, because that's a valid, like, he don't let people yell at him, and it's like, okay, that's your non-negotiable, and it's something that ain't, you know, huge, that it's able to be fixed. So I feel like I'm working on it. Oh, okay.
We got the confirmation.
But
I feel like that's something I have to work on too. Is the tone of voice. I definitely.
you can.
It's like when I'm talking to, like, it come out as mad, but it's really passion. Like, and I really like in those times I just be wanting like that listening ear, but to somebody that don't know you, like, how do you, like, you know, differentiate passion from anger and stuff like that when that's how it's coming out.
Exactly.
So I feel like you sometimes you just gotta dig deeper into who you dealing with and like why they like that, because like you not gonna know.
Awareness. You gotta be aware of your partner.
And I just seen a really good comment. She said the hardest thing is facing yourself. Don't wait until you're in a relationship to handle that. I'm not saying all things, but some things, those inner demons, are not anyone's else's responsibility but yours.
That's
right,
a fact,
correct.
Y'all preaching in the comments today.
Y'all going crazy in the comments. Like, I just see that pop up, and I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah, that's real.
that's a real, like, you know, like some things in a relationship, like, you can't fix it, because that's what the other person has to do. That's not, you're not saying it's not your job, but it's like you can help them, but like if they don't put that work in, you trying to pursue them or help them do it, ain't gonna do nothing if they don't sit there and fix it.
Because if they don't recognize it as a problem, it's not.
You gonna waste
nothing
your time.
y'all gonna do.
Yeah,
There's nothing y'all can do. That's real.
really good.
So we got it's 4 of us up here. Let's give something positive back after our conversation. Like, let's give one way that you can exclude some toxicity out of your life and out of your relationships. Like, what can we do? What's some small steps we can take? That's all lead them to something.
I could just not be in relationships. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Just cut it out. Tighten up. Don't be with nobody if you know
I
you
would
can't
say-
handle it. That's great advice.
Communicating in a way that the person who you're talking to will receive it. Like, being honest, but it's like, okay, you can be honest and still be nice. Or you could be honest and still be respectful. Like, sometimes we think,
Damn,
okay.
you talking to me?
No, I'm looking at you.
It sounds like you talking to me. I'm taking
She giving
it
you
personal.
advice. She ain't telling you what she
I
gonna
need to do that.
I'm
I
going to
got
look
it.
at the screen. I would say, dang.
What you gonna do to not be toxic?
To not be toxic, and I feel like I'm trying to do this now, is like when something does happen, whether it's with my boyfriend or something, it's like evaluating what they said before I speak. So it's like, don't just jump out of response. It's kind of like, okay, you just said this. Let me kind of, in 30 seconds, process what you said, what I'm going to say back, and how will that make you feel. Like I said, you can be honest and you can be blunt, you can do all that, but it's how you say it. You don't have to be mean about it. Like if somebody say, I don't like this about it, I don't got to be like, okay, well, I don't like this. It's like, okay, I recognize you don't like the way I do this. Let's try to figure out a solution to do something better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I need to learn how to agree. Like I feel like I need to learn how to agree to disagree and just move on from that point. Like I feel like everything don't necessarily got to be an argument. Like as adults, we just need to learn how to. Okay, you see it this way, I see it that way.
I hate that word,
but
because everything's not an argument.
It's not. It's really not. And that's but that's like if y'all constantly going back and forth and it ain't no, you know what I'm saying, no common ground, then it's gonna be looked at as an argument because y'all not really solving a problem.
That's true too. That's a very good point. I think. We doing personals.
Yeah.
I got to take when I feel like I'm getting frustrated. That's when I get toxic.
Yeah, I agree. Like once
I gotta like you made a good point. That's why I said you was talking to me. Like I gotta tell myself like, don't take a second, listen, and then respond, and not like another thing is like not. I guess it's being defensive. Like, don't get defensive. You know, you really take that other perspective and just take it for what it is.
You gotta realize it's not like you against each other. It's y'all against the problem. Like, it's kind of like you gotta like. When me and my boyfriend get into it, I hate that. Like, I hate it, and it's like that's why I be trying to fix it. Not trying to fix it so fast, but it's like, okay, I know it ain't us. It's what's this issue like. How can we get to the root of the issue? And it's like it take both of us to sit there and be like, okay, now I gotta put my product aside. Now I gotta really, you know what I'm saying, be honest and talk it out, because I don't like, you know, it's like if you really care about somebody, you don't want to be into it with them. You don't, but you gotta put your product aside and be like, okay, we into it right now, so how can we fix it? Let's get to the issue.
For me, what I'm going to do different, I have a tendency to, I avoid conflict in general, all aspects of my life, and I'm working on that and just being more assertive. But specifically in relationships, I do this thing where I just get quiet, like silent, like the communication thing, like you said, like I just rather not say anything because I live in my head a lot and have a hard time communicating exactly how I feel and expressing how I feel. And then the fear of what's going to happen once I express how I feel, like all of that gets to me. And by the time I evaluate everything and overthink everything, I just say nothing.
But I think, have you done alternate ways of communicating?
What you mean? Like
say you are having a rough time, like in an argument, or you know, got a problem and you don't know how to express it or bring it up or say it. Instead of trying to find the words, have you said like, "Hey, can I write you a note? Can we do this conversation through text? It's a little more comfortable. Emails." So it's like, I think knowing yourself too and being able to adjust to that, because I think you just described yourself like that's a whole thing of anxiety and overthinking in itself right there. Like you dealing with your own emotion first. And now, like, how to get it to my partner and articulate what I want to say is another problem on top of your initial problem. Right. And then you just psych yourself out.
And just be done with it.
Yeah, just be done with it. Yeah. So I think it's like knowing ourselves, too, in our communication.
Yeah, I agree. I shouldn't be the one talking over text because it's so easy to get stuff misunderstood. Like,
that's very true.
See, I prefer text because I don't like being cut off when I'm trying to communicate how I feel, and I have a tendency to cut off too because I'm like trying to defend myself right away. And it's like, let's just either text this out or talk in person so we can see our, you know, our body language and just like calm down enough to really hear you, because I be getting out of hand on the phone.
Even if I'm not like, even if I'm trying to prove my point, like I don't like texting because it's like I can't hear your tone. I can't see if you really just texting it just to shut, you know what I'm saying, to shut me up or anything like that. I like seeing it all. I want to see your face expressions. I want to, you know what I'm saying, like it's just, I don't know, me personally, I need to see it all. Text messages ain't gonna do it. FaceTime ain't gonna do it. But that's me. Like I know when if it's an issue, I'm not gonna address it on a text message because I feel like I'm not gonna get it's not the same. If that makes sense, it's not the same for me.
That's real.
All right. So what are some takeaways that we want to talk about from today?
Like, what has your toxic experience taught you about yourself, or is it some stuff like now that if you are or you were in a toxic relationship, like stuff that you don't let go in your new relationships now, anything like that?
I think it's hard to have a toxic relationship. That's like patterns, like you constantly in a cycle. It's a lot of relationships that's like that, but I think you have toxic moments and you got to grow and learn from them. That's real. Or they just going to keep happening. Yeah. So, for me, my takeaway from the movie too, and this conversation, and just because I just recently was going through this shit too, was I gotta be more patient with my partner, and not only with my partner. In all relationships, I gotta be more patient with my friends. I gotta be more patient with my family, and I have to listen better and not just hear. You know, really see what they saying. Okay, I'm doing this in this situation. So,
I agree. I feel like I need to stop being so defensive, like, and actually, like, understand that some people are really trying to help me and not criticize me. Like, you know, it's not all about, I mean, even if it's some constructive criticism is good. So it's like sometimes you need somebody to tell you, like, when things are going wrong, especially if that's your partner. I feel like you need to be able to trust that they telling you from the right place, and not to hurt your feelings or just to be nagging you or something like that. Because that's a lot of times that's what we be thinking it be. But when, I don't know, my previous relationship, it was kind of like a lot of stuff. I'm like, man, she be tripping. But it's like at the same time, like when you really just take that step back and you think about it, I'd be like, well, I see what she means. So it's just like, I don't know, I be feeling like it's not acting on what I think so much and really seeing it from the other side of the table.
Yeah.
That's real.
Somebody saying normalize being able to hear your flaws, and that resonated with me. It's like being able to be vulnerable, like knowing that, okay, I did something wrong, or I did make somebody feel in a way that I didn't intend to, but that's still the end result. So it's like I gotta own up to that, and just being. Another thing is not being selfish. Like, I kind of grew up like the only child, so like putting myself in other people's shoes and realizing that it's not all about me. Like, especially and whether it's a friendship or a partnership, romantic, it's not just me. It's somebody else's. So I have to be cautious or be sympathetic to their feelings and how they, you know, what they going through. It's the same way I would want them to be that to me. So kind of putting myself in the other person's shoes.
What about you, E?
Definitely for me, what I'm getting from this conversation, what I got from the movie, all this talk about toxicness is making me feel like I need to focus on loving myself more. And that's my message that I'm always spreading. And I've been telling myself for the past couple months that I need to take my own advice. And thinking about my past relationships and friendships and how I've operated in a lot of toxic situations, from a personal lens, that's a lack of self-love. Like, to continue to engage in the cycle over and over again is insanity. And then get mad at the other person because they doing the toxic relationship with you. In reality, you got to sometimes look in the mirror and be like, you know what, I'm going to love you more today and make a decision to walk away from something that doesn't serve me and is not good for me in any way. So I'm really going to reflect on that self-love piece.
Like, just watching that movie, I don't want to say it gave me flashbacks, but it took me to a place that I didn't want to go. Like, I had, you know, like, I feel like my mood is kind of off a little bit after watching it. I had just watched it before I got here, so, like, it kind of threw me off a little bit. Because I'm thinking about, okay, dang, I remember when this happened with, you know, such and such. Not my current relationship, but all my pre-relationship. It's like some of that stuff that was not even just said, the body language. Like, some of the stuff that he was doing, that she was doing, I could see myself, those relationships, those arguments. It just took me to a place where I'm like,
it's a heavy movie.
It was heavy. I feel like that's probably why I didn't like it, because it triggered me. Like, I was triggered. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I was triggered off that movie. I'm like,
that's why I liked it, because it was a reality check for me. Like, girl,
I saw myself in Malcolm in times. I'm not that toxic, but you know,
I feel like we all
you see it.
got an inkling a little
like a
bit.
little sprinkle.
So, for our listeners, we want y'all to be more engaged throughout the week. So when we come in and have these podcasts, we have more of y'all thoughts and opinions on what y'all want us to discuss. Because, again, we're going to start giving y'all, like, a guide to make it through your 20s as we try and make it through our 20s and navigate. But with that being said, go follow the Wolf Pack.
Instagram
258 Instagram page, our Facebook page, our Twitter. We getting active.
Yes, sir. We on YouTube now too.
Bigger.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts.
How you go big?
Spotify,
go big.
All that. You know what I'm saying? Like we said, this is a podcast for y'all, so y'all input. You know, it better suit y'all. You know, the more engagement, the more. Like, if y'all want to see something, let us know so we can prepare that episode. Because I'm telling y'all, like, this is for y'all.
We definitely going to be trying to keep the polls up and get ask more throughout the week, too, to have y'all insights so y'all can have more say so on what we have on the show.
Somebody said, "What about our 30s?" Because some of us are pushing it.
I don't know nothing about that.
Who was that?
Drew, you the closest one. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, who the hell was that? Who made the comment? But look, we ain't gonna worry about that right now.
You do get nervous.
He like, you got a couple more years.
Yeah, I got time.
30, damn near 50.
I'm not even
think you
looking
got
at that.
time,
I'm trying
right.
to get through the 20s right now.
I feel that.
But
Embrace your 20s.
we need to bring somebody in. We could bring somebody in for sure. But I know next week we're gonna be talking about the Rona, the 1 year anniversary.
We at 1 year.
1 year
dealing with this.
I feel like COVID didn't affect. Like I just lost my great aunt to COVID.
Dang.
2 days ago.
that.
Like she died from complications.
Sorry to hear that.
So-
See,
Rona,
COVID has not been nice to us, so we're gonna have a big COVID review episode next week. So y'all type in all week, give us some stuff to talk about. What's been some struggles, what's been some good things about COVID for y'all.
Yeah.
Just comment almost anywhere. Go add our pages, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
All right,
We
we
out.
out.